Oh, hello. Welcome to Sports Talk Philadelphia. We're coming off of a hot Philadelphia 76ers win over the Lakers, and we're going into a big Sunday night game against the Dallas Cowboys. We'll talk about them both after this intro.
6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
You'll never have the sacred stone.
Oh, this you crazy mother.
So yeah, welcome back from the intro. I got an impressive group of panelists on this week, starting off, of course, myself, your host, and then we got Trevor Gregoric, Dave Roberts, and Kevin Cook talking about the Philadelphia 76ers. Of course, they just beat the Lakers last night, and I mean, so we all know what people want to hear us talk about. But first, let's just talk about the game in general. So, you know, overall, was it an impressive performance by all, pretty much the entire team. They were only losing the lead for about a little bit in the fourth quarter, but overall, what an impressive game, right, guys?
I would agree, yeah. I think it was a very impressive game for the Sixers. Obviously, Joel Embiid with a career-high night. Ben Simmons proving himself again with almost another triple-double, and everyone else just stepping up. You have Covington stepping up. You have T.J. McConnell coming in as a spark on offense and defense. I think overall, it was just a great win.
Yeah, I mean, we have to mention Embiid. It's hard not to. I mean, 46, 15, 7, and 7. I mean, I know you want to talk about the game, but it's hard not to talk about Embiid's performance. It was electrifying.
All right, well, I'm going to actually answer the question here, Dave. The game was good. They came out guns blazing. They went up, I believe it was 24-11, like when you blinked your eyes. They had like 12, they had double-digit points within 2 minutes of the game, and the Lakers only had like two buckets at that point or something like that. So they came out guns blazing, shooting the ball off extremely well. And then I was actually a little surprised that the Lakers were able to work their way back in because, to be honest with you, the Sixers are just a much better team. With that being said, though, we were able to pull out the victory. It was a good win for us, and it was something that's promising to see them win a tight game against a team that they probably should have beat anyways. But
so yeah, of course, Dave, of course, brought it up. Joel Embiid. I keep saying his name wrong because I just like the way Joel rolls off the tongue. Forgive me, Mr. Embiid. Trust the process. Like I do officially trust the process now. But yeah, 46, 15, 7, and 7. Career highs for Joel Embiid and for the Sixers. For the NBA, it's the only player in history to have these minimums in a game. And, I mean, that's our guy. So it's exciting. Like I'm excited for the Eagles all the time, and I'm super excited for the Sixers seeing a player like this. Dare I say he's like the next Shaquille O'Neal?
I definitely think that's possible. I mean, to be honest with you, that's the first Sixer to have scored 40 points in a game since Iverson did it. The answer. I mean, that's really great company. I mean, not only does Philly love him, but that pound for pound might be the greatest basketball player of all time. So to be included in that company is great, and the fact that he's 7 feet tall, like he can do it inside and out. Like he's going to be as dominant as Shaq, but he's got more moves than just the post play. I mean, I think Brett Brown called him a forger of paintings last night. What does that even mean? I mean, to be honest with you, I think what Brett was trying to say is he copies what other people do. You saw a little bit of the dream shake down low against Randall. You saw the sky hook at multiple times. So this guy can do multiple things, and it's just extremely nice to see.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about the Shaq comparison. I saw on Instagram yesterday that they're comparing Penny and Shaq to Simmons and Embiid. I mean, you like to hear that, not the way it ended, but you like to hear that type of comparison, the way that Penny and Shaq played at the beginning of their careers in Orlando. So, I mean, I want to see something like that, just like not have it fall apart like it did on the Magic.
I mean, so yeah, no, of course we don't want the Sixers to fall apart. It's a beautiful pairing,
yeah.
And just seeing Embiid just go all across the court. That one shot he blocked, he just came out of nowhere and just smacked the ball against the backboard. Just seeing that level of athleticism is just, absolutely insane to me. Like, I mean, he's like you say, he's such a huge dude, but to be able to be that athletic when Shaq, he was athletic, but I guess Embiid's a little thinner than Shaq now.
At the end of Shaq's career, Shaq was definitely Embiid's definitely thinner than Shaq. But when Shaq was a rookie, like his Magic days, they were really good. And Dave, much to what you were saying, I don't think that this is going to fall apart because you can see it, especially with some of the other players. I don't want to talk about some of them, but when they want to be here, they're going to take pay cuts, I think, to stay here. You can see that there's a development of playing with each other. They like to play for the coach. They like to play for the city. And, I mean, Joel Embiid, like, whether it's on Twitter or his antics on the court, you can tell that he's having fun out there, and he's having fun with his friends, too. So I think that all proves the fact that this isn't going to fall apart on us.
Yeah, and just to add on to that, I think there's a sense of pressure that comes onto a player when they do have fun. There's some trash talking going on between the balls and Simmons and Embiid, and Embiid backed it up last night. I think it's everything we wanted to see. We didn't want to see the Sixers talking trash throughout the season and then coming into the Lakers playing another rookie who people thought was going to be like a star, but to come in and drop, 46 points, it's a great game.
And so, yeah, we talked about Embiid, and of course the other part of that pairing, Ben Simmons, of course, he has some great stats consistently, and we're going up against, Lonzo Ball, where ultimately, I mean, I don't see the hype for the Ball brothers. I mean, Ball is not life for them. It doesn't seem like they're ready to play that kind of NBA level talent versus what we have, that fresh hotness. I mean, you can see it on the screen. The comparisons aren't there. So, like, do you really think Lonzo Ball is going to last the rest of the season running up against players like Ben Simmons?
I think Lonzo's a decent player. He's a solid NBA player. But like Trevor was saying, there was some beef between who was better, whether it was Lonzo or whether it was Ben Simmons. There's no question. And, I mean, you saw it last night. Up against the best players, the people that he was supposed to destroy in one-on-one competition, Lonzo Ball folded. Ben Simmons put up 18 points, a double-double, 9 rebounds, one short of a triple-double. So, and same thing with Embiid. Embiid played very well. So Lonzo Ball folded. The Sixers players played well. I mean, it's evident there that Lonzo Ball is not a star player in this league.
Yeah, I mean, going off that, I kind of want to see the rivalry still of the Sixers and Lakers. I mean, that's an old rivalry, and I think after a little beef that happened, it's kind of coming back. But after last night, I mean, there's not really a beef anymore until we see him later on in the year. But I mean, I kind of hope to see that later on maybe Lonzo does a little bit better, just to prove that like we can have like a rivalry in this league. I mean, there's not too many out there anymore, just the Cavs and Warriors as awful right now. But hopefully in the future I get to see that rivalry so we can keep that fire of like wanting to win.
Maybe we'll see like Ben Simmons stepping over like Kyle Kuzma or something.
That's what I want to
similar
see.
way Iverson did. But yeah, overall the Sixers they have a winning record versus the West Coast. They went 3-2, and like, so what do you think some of that, like, traditionally, like, East Coast teams don't play well versus West Coast teams, at least from what I've seen growing up. But yeah, so explain this to me.
I mean, they just went out there and they did what they had to do. You can see there, on that stretch, they played really well, 110 points. They were 4th in the league in assists during their time there, and they just really played well. The only thing that they've been doing is they turned the ball over a lot. Surprisingly, there was only a couple of teams, and one of those was Golden State that turned the ball over more. But with the development of a team growing together, you're going to start to see them hold the ball better. And that always happened. Like every single year, if you go back and look, the Sixers start off and they turn the ball over a lot early in the season. And then as the season goes on, it turns down a little bit. And you're going to start to see that.
I think we're also seeing just before our eyes that this Sixers team is learning how to win now. A couple weeks ago, we were talking about how they were losing some close games. They would go up and they would drop the lead. They didn't score the one game in the last 3 minutes to lose. But now, like the Lakers last night, like it got close at times. The Lakers were in the lead, but we finished it out. And I think that's, as the season goes on and as this team gels even more, like we're still early in the season, And so as we go on into this season and even next season, if everyone stays healthy, hopefully if Fultz comes back, I think we only can go from here, honestly.
Well, and that's the question. Like, what do you guys think? What is the deal with Fultz? Do you think he's going to be back this year? You think they're going to end up holding him out? I just don't know what the case is going to be with him.
As a Sixer fan, I'd rather see him just sit out for the rest of the year. Because I mean, like I've said this before, like the people that have sat out before and taking their time to come back, they're actually playing really. Like Embiid sat out, playing really well right now. Simmons sat out, he's playing really well right now. So I feel like if Fultz sits out and actually learns about just the game itself, like even just being like an adult in the city, I feel like if he sits out, he'll come back even stronger and actually do something to contribute to this team with all the numbers people are putting up.
I mean, I definitely feel like keeping Fultz on the bench, at least just, like I said, rest up, get him used to, like I said, the environment playing in Philadelphia, getting used to the fans and how we treat our athletes is definitely going to be crucial if he wants to have some longevity here. As far as the success that we expect the Sixers to have in the future, I would like to see him be here for years and years. So, yeah, I think just chill out, take a break, watch the game from the sidelines, practice. But yeah, you don't need to worry about playing right now. We look pretty good. Speaking of another player that looks pretty good, Covington. And so, yeah, he has a huge deal. At least I guess any big deal in any sports big domain. $62 million, 4 years, 16 points per game. Just seeing him play, watching him his stats per game is pretty good. So yeah, how do you guys feel about Covington?
I mean, this man put up 31 points against the Clippers, and I mean, you think about his story. He came from the D League. Like, you don't really expect a lot of D League players to be very consistent in the NBA. Like, you feel like it's just a really good bench player or someone who can just put up, give a little assist. Like, you don't expect him to actually do very well. So I mean, him putting up these type of points, I mean, I feel like he deserves to have all the money he's getting right now.
And like Dave was saying, I mean, he comes from humble beginnings, and this Robert Covington is basically the process here. He was here. Hinkie brought him in, and he stuck with us. And Brett Brown has done a great job molding him into a player, and it's unreal. He's got the best 3-point percentage among players with over 100 attempts. Every penny is worth it in that signing, and that's I'm telling you right now, that is a bargain.
So yeah, that's it for Sixers Talk. Dave and Kevin are going to take a break. We're going to bring off 2 new panelists. You'll meet them after the commercial break. See you then.
Hi, this is Eddie Dunn, host of LaSalle's favorite TV game show, Q&A. I'm here today to tell you to watch LaSalle TV. Though if you're seeing this commercial, that means you're already watching LaSalle TV. So I guess keep it up. You're doing an awesome job. I hope you like what you're seeing.
All right, welcome back from the break. Of course, it's one of my favorite parts of the show, the Philadelphia Eagles talk. So yeah, we're coming off of a long bye week where we had no Eagles football to watch, but we got some good things. On desk, we have Alec Costoval and we got Josh Abrams. And yeah, so Philadelphia Eagles, of course, we're going up against probably one of my favorite matchups to watch just because I love seeing our boys in green beating up the Dallas Cowgirls. So yeah, let's just talk about our excitement for a little bit.
I mean, I'm absolutely excited. Coming off of a bye week, I need this Eagles football right now. This team's too good to have a bye week right now. Going into a big matchup with, of course, the division rival Dallas Cowboys. I'll give them the dignity. I'm sorry. But it's definitely a big week, and I think a big win in store for our boys in green.
Oh, absolutely. I think this is the week where we really, if we haven't asserted our dominance yet, then this is the week where we have to do it. We know the Cowboys are shorthanded this week. No Zeke Elliott. I know Sean Lee's been dealing with problems, and he's basically the quarterback of their defense. So that's also a very big player to watch out for. This is the week where we just got to take advantage of the sloppy play from Dallas last week against Atlanta and just, maybe even double that. I'm not asking for 12 sacks necessarily because that's kind of impossible, but this is the game where we just got to pour everything on them and just show them who the real deal is.
Yeah, I agree. And I think coming off a bye week, I think a lot of people are worried about the slowing down of momentum for this team, but coming into a Cowboys game without Ezekiel Elliott, like you said, I think if our defense steps up, if we play the way we've been playing, I think this is an easy win, and we can get out of it and keep the ball rolling.
So I know you said we can't ask for 12 sacks, but listen, Eagles defense, I am asking for 12 sacks, okay? I want you to bury Dak Prescott into the ground. But yeah, and like you said, birds of a feather flock together. Falcons beat the Cowboys for us, set them further back. We're going to beat the Cowboys, of course, as always. But yeah, just the overall records in the NFC East, outside of the pitiful, pathetic, sad New York Giants, 1-8. Honestly, the Cowboys and the Redskins are they're kind of neck and neck, and honestly, I can see either of them becoming the wild card team from our division. But so yeah, out of the two of them, who do you think are going to have be able to last the rest of the season? Because the Redskins are already 0-2 versus us.
Well, it's really up to how they do in the division. You got to think that with a 9-7 record or even an 8-8 record in the NFC, that'll put them at least in contention for the wild card spot. But I think the Cowboys are going to take that because the Redskins are already 0-2 against us. So we don't really have to worry about them. Dallas really has the advantage here because they can win their non-conference games, and with 2 or 3 wins against the Redskins or the Giants, they can definitely get into the wild card spot.
I'm actually going to disagree with that. I actually think the Redskins have the better shot, and the reason why is because their receiving core. I think the receiving core of the Redskins is one of the most underrated in the NFL. Rookies like Josh Doxson are really doing great things for the Redskins, and I think that's going to give them the edge trying to pursue a wild card. I'm not saying that I can see them winning a wild card, but I think it's possible.
Yeah, I would agree. I think the Redskins have a better shot as of right now. I think the Cowboys without Ezekiel Elliott, I think he's their primary offensive player. I don't think Dak can carry this whole team on his shoulders as of right now. So him being out for 5 more games, it's gonna hurt the Cowboys for sure.
Yeah, and speaking of quarterbacks that can carry teams on their shoulders, obviously Carson Wentz is one of the hottest just names in football right now. I mean, yeah, he put the Eagles on his shoulder, and just even when the rest of the Eagles might not be able to produce, Carson Wentz is going to be able to lift his guys up. You saw it in the offseason. You bring guys back to North Dakota, building up chemistry. And I mean, look at him now. He took Nelson Aguilar, a guy who everybody was down on, and he's one of our favorite receivers. He took Mac Hollins, a rookie, and consistently used Mac Hollins as a drive starter and a drive finisher quite often as well. And then you see Dak Prescott. He hasn't been to the same level of success, in my opinion. Of course, he's been able to win some games, and he's definitely better on the ground. But, I mean, overall, I don't really see Dak Prescott being able to stand up against our defense, and I think Carson Wentz can destroy the Cowboys' defense.
I'm going to agree with that. Carson Wentz, I think his running game is really slept on, actually. He has some breakaways where he just gets out of the pocket for 12, 13 yards and gets that first down on 3rd, 4th down, and just impressive to say the least. And, you're comparing a number 2 overall pick to a 3rd round pick, but I think in the quality of a starter, Wentz is the way to go.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, I think a lot of things are different this year than last year. I think Wentz's confidence is definitely shot up to definitely a certain degree, and it's just having so many playmakers on offense and especially being able to play through all the injuries we've been dealing with. That definitely helps us a lot.
Yeah, I agree, and I know we talked earlier this year about how Carson Wentz's decision making could use a little improvement, and I think in the past few games his decision making has been almost impeccable, and his confidence, like we've been saying, like radiates to the rest of this offense. Our receiving core is stepping up, our tight ends are stepping up, the line is stepping up. It even goes to the defense too. Like everyone is on board with this system, and I think we're going to keep it going.
And I think that goes to show also with, you mentioned the tight ends, Zach Ertz has been one of the best tight ends in the NFL this year. If I don't mind me saying, I would say he's Gronk-esque.
I mean, I'm fine with that comparison because Gronk is one of the best tight ends in the history of the sport. So yeah, Zach Ertz can certainly be the next Gronk. But looking at the Cowboys team, they are missing a couple of their key players, of course. Sean Lee being one of them, and I'm looking forward to that matchup without him. How substantial of a hit do you think that they're going to take without him?
Without Sean Lee, I think it's going to be a huge loss. He's just a dominant force in the defense for the Cowboys, and honestly, if he was playing, I'd be kind of worried about where our offensive line was and how Carson Wentz was going to avoid him, because he's just a destructive force on that defense, and I'm glad to not see him play on Sunday.
Yeah, what Sean Lee is to the Cowboys is what Luke Kuechly is to the Panthers, essentially. I mean, I'm not trying to discredit Thomas Davis, but what I'm saying is Luke Kuechly and Sean Lee both have that playmaking ability that literally changes an offense's game plan. So not having him in the middle of the field is definitely going to open up so many holes, so many lanes for J.J. and maybe even LeGarrette Blount. I could see Blount, having a pretty solid game around 80 yards or so. So not only is this the game where we set the tone, for the Cowboys, this is the game where we show how great our running game is with the addition of J.J. as well.
Yeah, and going off that, if this running game does really well this week, it just opens up the passing lanes too.
Absolutely.
So Carson Wentz can have a huge day, same with J.J. and LeGarrette Blount. So I'm looking for a big game out of all the weapons on offense.
Yeah, and there's another name we won't have to worry about seeing in the game on Sunday, Smith. So it's going to be another hole that we can hopefully exploit, and just being able to, our defensive line has been quite scary for most quarterbacks and that we've went up against, even some of the better ones. Like, we've made Alex Smith run around, and that was early on in the season. So, and like I said, I want our defense to get 12 sacks. How many additional sacks do you think are going to happen without him?
Well, I think this is a game where we can surmount maybe like 6 or 7 sacks total. I'm not looking for individual sacks, 6 or 7 like Morris Claiborne had last week, but still, this is a game for Fletcher Cox, Tim Jernigan, Brandon Graham. This is one for the ages for them. I can definitely tell that this is a game where one of them is just going to go off.
Yeah, let's just say, I'll put it simply, when we get to picks, you'll see my MVP reflects the weakness on the offensive line for the Cowboys.
Yeah, mine as well. I think, for lack of a better term, I think this defense is going to eat this week, honestly.
Since you brought up the picks, let's just talk about the picks. I think that's the most natural way to go about this. Of course, I believe, all of us have the Eagles winning. I, of course, have pitched the biggest deficit. Before I would have a conservative pick, but now I'm saying 45 points and 45 to 27, Carson Wentz MVP, because I really think Carson Wentz is going to just destroy the Cowboys secondary, as he should. Trevor has the Eagles going 28-21 in a close game, but with Brandon Graham as an MVP. Alec has 34-24 Fletcher Cox, and Josh is 38-21 Carson Wentz. So let's start with Trevor. Let's talk about your pick.
Yeah, so I think it's going to be, since it's the Eagles-Cowboys, it's a big rivalry game, I think it's going to be somewhat close, but I think it's going to, if whoever watches the game, I think the Eagles are going to be pretty dominant. I think just the score isn't going to reflect the dominance that the Eagles have. And Brandon Graham, like we just said, I think this defense is going to do incredibly well this week. And honestly, I would say the whole defensive line, but to pick one player, Brandon Graham, I think, yeah.
Same thinking on my part, really, just different player. Fletcher Cox is one of the most dominant players on this Eagles defense, and this year his level of play has been bounced up a little bit, and I see the Eagles taking this one with at least a 2-score victory.
Yeah, and I really like all the MVP picks, and this is whether or not this turns out to be a close game, every player is going to have a job to do. So, but because I'd like to pick the whole team as the MVP, that's why I went with Carson Wentz, because he's going to be the reason why we score our points. This is a game where Carson can, I don't really know how he did last year in Dallas, but this is a game where he can redeem himself in a way and show the league that he can go into his biggest rival's stadium away and put on a show and silence the crowd. And this is the week to do it.
All right, well, yeah, that about wraps it for Eagles Talk. But we have another additional exciting part of the show. That's right, it's Fast Five, the fast section of the show where we ask questions quickly. If I get rid of the intro and actually ask the questions. So, excuse me. The first question I'm going to ask will, you know what, Trevor, you can take this one. How many touchdowns does Jay Ajayi get this game?
Touchdowns? I'm going to be bold here and say 2 touchdowns. I think he's going to have a really solid game. He's going to show Philadelphia fans what we want to see.
All right, that's a good, concise answer. Alec, do you think the Phillies should pick up Giancarlo Stanton?
He's an MVP candidate who almost hit 60 home runs this year, but apparently the Marlins are asking a huge price for him along with that $300 million contract. I'd rather save that money for other free agents, especially Manny Machado next offseason, than see us trade and lose a lot of our prospects for Giancarlo Stanton.
All right, sounds good. Josh, so we have 2 hot teams right now, Eagles and the Sixers. Out of all the rest of our Philadelphia teams, who's going to be the next one to just pop off and explode?
Well, I think we're starting to see the Sixers grow a little bit. They're definitely putting on some really good games, but I do think this is the Eagles' season this year to pop off and enter the playoffs with the #1 seed. And if we can keep the same guys and keep the same core players, we can do it next year and years to come.
All right, and Trevor, this question's coming to you. How many more games do you think we can get out of Embiid like that?
Ooh, that's a tough question. I think if he stays healthy, if he keeps playing to his fullest potential, I think the sky's the limit for this season and seasons to come. I would say for the rest of this season, probably, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6. But in the next few seasons, when he's starting to get into his real prime, I think the number can go up for sure.
All right, and last question's coming to you, Josh. Since you're wearing the tie, why are the Flyers so cold when the rest of Philadelphia is on fire?
Well, I don't know if it's because they play on ice, but I think it's honestly because of the whole goalie situation and the lack of ability to score in certain games. The inconsistency is at an all-time high right now, so we got to get that. We got to get consistent.
All right, well, yeah, that's Fast Five. That's a show. You can follow us on social media to see the rest of our picks on SportsTalk LTV on Twitter. Make sure you follow our YouTube channel, LaSalle TV Philly, where you can watch the recording. Is at about 8 o'clock tonight. Make sure you follow us on Facebook, SportsTalk Philadelphia. And if you need to send us an email, you saw it on the screen. For me, Trevor, Alec, Josh, Kevin, and Dave, thank you for watching. I'm looking forward to see you watching next week, and make sure you watch the game. Go Eagles, beat the Cowboys.